Hello and welcome. I'm Raghav from Automation Step by Step, and today we are going to go very basic step by step and we will learn karate-config.js, that is the configuration file in Karate. This will be very easy. I will go step by step and we will see what is karate-config.js, how to create this file, how to use this file, what are the different options and features, how to call this file, and we will also see how to do multi-environment testing using Karate configuration file. This will be very easy and very interesting, and that's my promise to you. And with this, let's get started and see what is karate-config.js. So this is the default configuration file in Karate, and this is the default name of the file. And using this file, we can create and store global variables that can be called from any feature file in your project. We can also configure execution environments, base URLs, timeouts like connect and read timeouts, etc. And I will show you this in a moment. And then this file is read before executing any scenario in Karate. So if you want to keep some values that you want to be read by your scenario, you can keep it in this configuration file. Let us now see a very interesting demo. And step number one is we will create a new file in src test java folder, and we will name it as karate-config.js. So let's do this. I will go to my Eclipse and I will go to my project, which is this karate here, and then go to the src test java folder, do a right click and new and select file, and here you can give any name to this file. Sorry, you have to give a specific name, that is karate-config.js, my mistake. So I will say karate-config.js. so this is the file name. Say finish, and the file is created here. And now we will create a JavaScript function here, which is step number 3. We will create a JavaScript function and add the configuration. So let us say, I will say function fn, you can give any name here, and brackets and a curly bracket start and a curly bracket stop. So this is how we create a function in JavaScript. And this, in the configuration file karate.js, it contains a JavaScript function that we have created, and this JavaScript function will have a JSON object, and this JSON object will contain the global variables, and we need to return this JSON object so that it will be available to the features. So let us do that. I will say where and create a variable config equals to create a JSON object, I will say curly bracket start and stop, and here I can give some name value pairs which will become the global variables. So let us say name, I will say Raghav here, and then I will have to return this JSON object, so I will say return config. So this is done, and now this variable will be available to our features. So let us also see an example. We have created a JavaScript function, and then we created a JSON object, called it config, and then we have also returned the JSON object. And now I can check. I will create a new feature file. I can use any existing feature file, or let me just create a new file. I will say config demo 1.feature, you can name it anything, and I will clean all this data and create a new feature. I will say feature config demo, and then scenario, I will say config demo 1, and let us say I can say here given print name. So this name should be getting its value from the configuration file. I will do a right click and say pretty format, save, and I will do a right click, run as cucumber feature. I can also run from test runner, but let me just run from here for now. And I will go to the report. I will go to the target folder and I will refresh it once and go to the karate reports folder, and I will open the karate summary.html in a system editor, that is the default browser on the system, and let us see. And yes, you can see here it is printing the name which it's getting from the configuration file. So this is working fine, and we are able to get our global variables in our feature file. Now we can also set some configurations like connect timeout and read timeout. I can say here it should be coming before the return statement. I can say karate.configure, and I will say here connect timeout and give the value. The value is in milliseconds. I will say 5000, which will be 5 seconds. And then similarly, I will say karate.configure. And if you press Control space, you can get the auto suggestion as well. This is read timeout. And again, I will give the value 5000 milliseconds. So this is how we can set the timeouts in Karate configuration file. Let us check this. If I go to let me try to make this to a lower value, let us say 50, and if I try to run any API, let us go to get feature, and I will say run as cucumber feature. Let us see what happens. If I check the report and I go to the karate summary, sorry, it should be HTML, karate summary.html. Looks like this is working. I should have run from the test runner so that it can get the timeouts. I will do a right click on the test runner, run as JUnit test. Don't worry if you do not have a test runner. I'm showing this for a demo. I will show you the other features now. So let us now check. So test runner will run all our features because we have not specified a specific feature to get executed. If I run this and see the summary, you can see it is all failing. If I check put, and if I go here, you can see the read timeout here, timeout exception, because we had a very low, very small timeout set in the configuration file. Let me change this to 5000 again, and now it should all be fine. So you can set all these configuration, and now let me move this down and we will create a environment configuration. So here I am creating a variable called env and making it equal to karate.env, and I can also log it using karate.log statement. So here I will say where env equals karate.env, and then I can say karate.log. I can use this karate.log, and here I will say the value of env is, and I will say env here. So that's it. This will log the value of environment, and here now I can say I will go to my get feature. This is the feature file I created earlier. Let me get a simple get scenario, and I will paste it in my config demo feature file so that I can show you separately here. Here let us say this is the URL. I want to get this URL from the configuration file. In the configuration file, I can create another global variable called base URL, and I will give the value here. I will give the base URL here equal to this. So this is going to be the base URL for all my requests. And then I can say here, instead of the complete URL, I can just give the path like this. So here I will say given path, and it should get the base URL from the configuration file. Let us just do pretty formatting, save, and I will run this, and I will go and check the report. I will go to karate summary.html. Here let us say there is some issue. Okay, it says protocol exception. Let me check again. In the configuration file, the read and connect timeouts are fine. So this is my base URL. I should have, okay, one thing that I missed here is this should also be taken in the background. So I will have to copy the background here, and here I will say URL of the background. I will call the base URL. So you can directly give the global variables in the background as well, or directly in the scenario. I will do a right click, pretty format, save, and I will run again, and let us see this time. I will go and refresh my report, and looks like now this is running fine. In the background I am getting this base URL, and environment I have not set as of now, and this is coming from the configuration file. The value of env is, and if I go and see the get method, we are actually getting the complete URL. So this is working fine. Now I will go and create some more environments. Now the reason we need multiple environments is your application may be deployed on different environments like QA, sandbox, dev, etc. And every environment will have some properties or some values that will change with every environment, like the URLs of the application, the credentials, the username, passwords, etc. And therefore it is very handy and useful to set these values separately in a configuration file like this, so that you do not have to make changes at other places, and this is the only place where you will make all the changes. So let us now do this. I will say if env equals QA, and then give a curly bracket start and stop. I will say base URL should be equal to, and I will give the QA URL here, or the QA endpoint. Similarly, I will say if, I can say else if base URL, if it is dev, then I will say it should be dev, and else if there is, the environment is not set, then let us say the base URL is default. Now these are all dummy values. This is I'm doing just for this demo. In real time you will have your own URLs for different environments, and similarly you can set other values which are dependent on environment or which change with environment. So let me do this. So this is what exactly I have done, all these configurations, and I should be using config.base URL. This is something I missed. I should be using config dot, because config is my object. Yeah, this is what I should be using. Same here and same here. Okay, and this should be equals. That's it. Now I do not have any errors. Let us now see. I will now run and check. Let me just go to my config demo feature, and I will run this. And now I will go and refresh my report and check. So here there is a failure. That should be okay. Let me see what happened. So here you can see, because I have not set any environment, I am getting the default environment, and therefore it is getting this URL default, and because this is not a valid URL, therefore we are getting a failure. But this is fine. We are able to see that we can do the environment setup like this. Now here, so we have done this, we have done the environment setup as well. Now from where we can actually give the value for the environment, and how we can give the value and run the feature file. So for that, let us see how to call the karate-config.js file. Now in general you do not need to call it, it is called by default, and you should just keep it under src test java folder, and it should be called as karate-config.js file. As we have already seen, we did not call it, it is getting called by itself. However, if you want to update the value for the configurations, or you want to pass the value for the configurations, you can pass it from either test runner or the command line. If you want to pass it from the test runner, you can create a method and give it an annotation before class, and then say system.set property and give the name of the value. For example, I will go to my test runner class. I have shown you how to create a test runner class in the earlier sessions. So here I will create a function. I will say public static void, and I can give it any name, let us say before, and here I will say system. So I will say system.set property. If I press control space bar, I am getting the auto suggestion here, set property, and here I will say karate.env, and I will give the name of the environment I want. So I will say, let us say QA here, and I will also have to give a annotation. I will say at before class. And now let us try to run this, run as JUnit test, and because we have not specified any specific feature, or we have not used any tags, it will run all the feature files in this project, which is okay. We do not have a lot of feature files as of now. Let me just go and check the report. I will go to the karate summary.html, and you can see all these reports are here. So here we can see a summary of all the feature. These are the features. This is the title of the feature, pass, fail count, scenario count, and time taken. I will go to my config demo.feature file, and here if I go to the get method, you can see it is now getting the QA environment. Also, if I go to the background, and here you can see this is the base URL, and here also it says the value of the environment is QA. So all this we can check from here. Now the other way is I can use command line, and here I will have to run a maven command. So I will first go to the command line. If you are on Mac, you can go to terminal, and the first thing I will say is mvn space hyphen version to check the version of maven on my system. I can also say mvn space hyphen v. So in my case, I have Apache Maven 3.8.1 installed. In case you do not have it, you will first have to get Maven installed. Now do not get confused here. In our Eclipse, we had created a Maven project, and that is because Eclipse has a inbuilt Maven setup or configuration. We do not have to separately get Maven on our system to use or create a Maven project on Eclipse. However, if you want to run from your system's command line, if you want to run any Maven command, then you will need to have Maven on your system. And to get Maven, you just have to go to your browser. I will have a separate session for command line runs, but for now, you can just go and say Maven download. In case you do not have Maven, say Maven download, and you will go to this maven.apache.org website. You can go here and you can get a zip file. So let us say if you are on Windows, you can just get this zip file from here. It will download as a zip folder. You can unzip and keep at any location on your system. If I show you my folder, I have this on my downloads folder. You can see this was a zipped folder which I have unzipped and kept it here, and then you have to copy this location, the path, and go to the system variables. You can do a right click on this PC, go to properties, and go to advanced system settings, environment variables, and here create a new variable. If you do not find Maven home, create a new variable clicking here, and create a new variable which should be named as Maven underscore home, all in caps, and give the location or the path of your Maven folder here like this. And then after you have done this, go to the path environment variable and go to edit. Here click on new, and then add the bin folder of your Maven folder. So you can give a complete path of your bin folder, something like this. You can go here and just copy this complete path and then give it in your path environment variables, or a good way is that you say whatever is there in my Maven home, get from there and then append bin there, so that if you change your Maven home, this will take it from there automatically and you do not have to change here. Once you do these two settings, or once you add and update these two paths, you can open a new command line or a new command prompt and again check maven space -v or space -version, and you should get your Maven. And now we can run our Maven command. The first thing is we have to change the location to the folder of our project. So in my case, this is my folder. If I do a right click and go to properties, and this is my folder, so I will have to open the command line on this location. One shortcut is you just go here to the folder address bar and say cmd and hit enter. It will open the command prompt on the same location you can see here, or you can just copy this. You can just copy the folder or the location. This is the folder location or the project folder location. Copy this, go to your command line and then say cd. Now also you have to make sure that if your project folder is on C drive, then it is fine, you can directly say cd. If it is on some different drive, you have to first change the drive, because in my case the default drive of command line is C. So I will first say D because my project folder is on D drive, and then I will say cd and give the location of my project, and then I can say mvn test. So if I run this mvn test, it will run all the tests in my project. So if I run this, you can see it is running. It is saying source option 5 no longer supported, use 7 or later. Let me see. I will go to my project and do a right click, go to build path, and I will say configure build path. And if I go to Java compiler, yes, it is using 5. Let me make it 7 or higher. Let me just make it 8. Apply, yes, apply and close. And now I will try again mvn test, and let us see what happens this time. And yes, now it is running my tests. So you can see it is using the karate.env also here, and this is running all the tests in my project. And there is a failure because some of my scenario must have failed, which is fine. But if I go and check the reports, let us see. If I go and check my HTML report, you can see everything is running fine here. And now to set the environment from command line, I can say mvn test -t and the variable that I have used in my configuration file, that is env, and I can give it equal to whatever environment I want to. So I can say here, let us say mvn test and then -d, and then I will say env equals, let us say dev, and I will run this, and we will verify in the report if it has changed the environment to dev or not. So yeah, this is fine. If I go here, I will refresh this and go to my demo, and here I will go here, and it is using QA. I think this is because it is actually getting it from, maybe from here. Let me try to just comment this out, and I will also confirm. So this is what I'm using. Okay, let me try one thing. I will go here to my command prompt, and I will say here mvn test -t, and I will give karate.env directly here and make it equals to dev, and let us see what happens this time. Now do not worry if you are having any issues with the command line. I will actually have a separate session for command line, but I just wanted to show you how you can set variables for configuration file from command line. So now I will check again. Let us see. I will now see here, and yes, now it is dev. So this is now working fine. So now it is taking dev. So you can use like this as well. So this is how you can use the config file in Karate, and we now know all these options and features, how to create, use, and multi-environment testing. I hope this was very useful for you. Please do some hands-on. If you face any issues, let me know, and I will see you in the next session. Thank you for watching and never stop learning.